Welcome back to the channel USD Coins everyone, and thank you for joining us once again. If you're a fan of rare coins, numismatics, and the fascinating stories behind valuable collectibles, you're in for a treat today. In this episode, we're going deep, very deep, into one of the most intriguing, mysterious, and valuable coins to come out of the United States Mint in modern times. We're talking about none other than the 1986 Liberty Quarter Dollar, a coin that, under certain conditions, has reportedly reached staggering figures of up to $215,000 in valuation because of highly unusual and rare minting errors. Yes, you heard that right, a coin that's only worth 25 cents face value could potentially fetch more than $200,000 if it possesses the right combination of errors, historical anomalies, and collector-driven demand. Now, to the untrained eye, a 1986 quarter may not look any different than the change jingling in your pocket. It's part of the familiar Washington Quarter series, featuring the profile of George Washington on the obverse, or front side, and the iconic eagle design on the reverse. These quarters are so common that many people pay them little attention. But sometimes, within the seemingly ordinary, lies the extraordinary. The 1986 Liberty Quarter is a prime example of this principle in action. It proves that when it comes to coin collecting, small differences can make a huge impact. So what exactly makes this coin so special? Why are collectors and dealers willing to pay enormous sums of money for a quarter minted in Denver in 1986? Well, it all comes down to errors, highly unusual, rare, and often stunning minting mistakes that occurred during the coin's production. These errors aren't just random defects, they are artifacts of a moment in time, reflecting specific malfunctions in the minting process, human oversight, and sometimes even environmental conditions within the mint facilities. And for coin collectors, error coins are not defects, they are rarities, sometimes considered one-of-a-kind treasures. Let's dive first into the basics. The 1986 quarter was minted at the Denver Mint, one of the key facilities operated by the United States Mint. The D Mint mark appears on the obverse, typically just to the right of Washington's ponytail, signifying that the coin originated from Denver. In 1986, millions of quarters were produced across various mints, with Denver producing well over 500 million Washington quarters that year alone. So yes, the coin in general is common. But here's the twist. While most of these coins are circulating in average condition, a tiny fraction have unique, unintentional features that set them apart. These features come in the form of misstrikes, die cracks, double dies, off-center strikes, and other minting anomalies that were not caught by quality control. One of the most significant and valued error types seen in some 1986 quarters is the double die error. This happens during the die creation process when the design on the die shifts slightly between strikes. As a result, the features on the coin, such as the date, the lettering, or even parts of Washington's profile, appear doubled. For the 1986 quarter, the most desirable double die versions often show doubling in the word Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date, 1986. These doubled elements are not subtle once you know what to look for. They pop out, especially under magnification, and are instantly recognizable to experienced collectors. Another error found in rare versions of the 1986 quarter is what's known as an off-center strike. In this case, the coin planchet, the blank piece of metal onto which the design is stamped, was not properly aligned when struck. This causes the design to appear shifted, sometimes dramatically, to one side of the coin. Depending on how severe the misalignment is, parts of the design may even be missing altogether. A 5% off-center strike might not be very valuable, but when you get into 20%, 30%, or even higher percentages, collectors start paying attention. The sweet spot for value often falls between 40% and 60% off-center, especially if the date is still visible. Those coins are quite rare because quality control usually catches and removes them from circulation before they ever leave the mint. There are also known instances of clipped planchets. This happens when the coin blank was improperly cut from the metal sheet, resulting in a coin that appears to have a curved bite taken out of one or more sides. While clipped planchets are not unique to the 1986 quarter, their appearance on this particular coin can add to the coin's appeal, especially when combined with other errors. A double error, say, a clipped planchet and a double die, can result in exponential increases in value. Imagine the rarity of one error, now imagine the astronomical odds of 2 or 3 errors appearing on the same coin. That's part of why some 1986 D Liberty quarters have broken into six-figure territory at auctions. Die cracks and cuds are another error type found on some of these quarters. A die crack occurs when the die used to strike the coin develops a fracture. This results in raised lines or bulges on the coin's surface. A cud is a specific type of die break near the edge of the coin that results in a blob-like area where the design is missing. Collectors love these because they represent physical deterioration of the minting equipment, something that should have been caught but slipped through the system. Perhaps the most mysterious and rarest of all errors are the transitional errors. These are coins that were struck on planchets intended for different years or denominations. For example, imagine a quarter that was struck using metal meant for a dime. These are exceedingly rare and often debated, but they do happen. With the 1986 D quarter, rumors and anecdotal evidence have circulated about transitional errors involving metal composition mismatches, particularly in the copper-nickel clad layers. While hard evidence is still emerging, some experts have suggested that a few 1986 D quarters might have been accidentally struck on leftover planchets or even experimental metal compositions, making them extremely unique. Another contributing factor to the 1986 D quarters mystique and value is condition. Like most collectible items, condition is king. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially one that has been graded by a reputable third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC, can fetch significantly more than a circulated example. If a coin with a rare error is also in mint state condition, the value can skyrocket. And if that coin happens to be a one-of-a-kind error, well, now you're talking about headline-worthy auction results. Now, some of you might be wondering, how did these valuable error coins get out of the mint in the first place? Isn't the United States Mint known for strict quality control? The answer is yes, and no. While the mint does have quality control procedures, it's also important to remember that they are producing billions of coins each year. Mistakes happen. Machines malfunction. Human oversight isn't perfect. And when you're operating at such a massive scale, a few flawed coins can, and do, make it out into circulation. In fact, that's part of the thrill for collectors, the idea that a priceless coin could be hiding in plain sight, tucked away in a piggy bank, cash register, or even a handful of loose change. It's this mix of probability, luck, and historical quirks that gives rise to stories like the 1986 D Liberty quarter. There are confirmed examples of these error coins selling for thousands, tens of thousands, and in one extreme case, up to $215,000. It's worth noting that the exact price can vary depending on the specific error, the coin's condition, provenance, and the level of interest at auction. But the bottom line is clear: certain 1986 D quarters are worth far more than their face value. So, what should you do if you think you have one of these valuable quarters? First, don't clean it. Cleaning a coin, even with the best intentions, can severely damage its surface and reduce its value. Second, get a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and examine it closely. Look for doubling in the lettering and date, check for off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, or any other anomalies. Third, if you believe you've found something rare, consider getting the coin professionally graded. Services like PCGS and NGC not only authenticate coins but also assign a grade that can significantly affect the coin's market value. It's a small investment that can lead to a major return. What's more, owning a rare error coin like the 1986 D Liberty quarter isn't just about the money. It's about holding a piece of numismatic history, a tangible artifact that captures a unique moment in the minting process. Each error coin tells a story, of machinery gone awry, of human oversight, of chance, and of discovery. And as more and more collectors enter the hobby, the demand for these rare specimens only continues to grow. If you're new to coin collecting or just starting to pay attention to your spare change, the 1986 D quarter is a perfect example of why it pays to look a little closer. Coins are like miniature time capsules, carrying within them the history, technology, and even the errors of their era. The next time you get a quarter in change, take a moment to inspect it. You never know, your next coffee shop transaction could land you a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. We dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, minting errors, and the untold stories behind the pocket change you might just be sitting on. If you're new here, make sure you stay tuned, because today we're talking about one of the most buzzworthy coins in the numismatic world, one that has recently captured the attention of collectors and enthusiasts alike. We're talking about the 1995 Liberty Quarter Dollar, a seemingly ordinary coin that has stunned experts and collectors with a valuation that has skyrocketed as high as $145,000 due to a combination of unique mint errors, rare variations, and unexpected historical significance. You heard that right, this coin, which originally entered circulation worth just 25 cents, now commands the kind of attention usually reserved for ancient treasures or once-in-a-lifetime discoveries. So how does a modern quarter become worth more than most people's annual salary? What kind of errors or minting mistakes could possibly contribute to such a meteoric rise in value? What sets this particular coin apart from the billions of others minted in the 1990s? To answer all those questions, we're going to take a deep dive into the history, the minting process, the types of known errors, and the factors that influence the coin's rarity and collectability. This isn't just another coin, this is a numismatic phenomenon with a story that deserves to be told in full detail. Let's begin with the context in which the 1995 Liberty Quarter was minted. In 1995, the United States Mint was operating out of several key facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and West Point. The Denver Mint, denoted by the D mint mark, was responsible for a significant portion of the nation's circulating coinage, including the Washington quarter. This was before the state quarters program began in 1999, so the standard quarter design still featured the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the classic eagle reverse design. The quarter struck in 1995 at the Denver Mint had a massive mintage, over 1.1 billion units. Under ordinary circumstances, such a high mintage would make the coin relatively common and of little interest to collectors, save for those looking to complete a date and mintmark collection. However, what elevates the 1995 Liberty Quarter into a completely different realm is the presence of rare, unusual, and highly collectible mint errors. When we talk about mint errors, we're referring to mistakes or anomalies that occur during the coin production process. These can include double strikes, off-center strikes, die clashes, planchet errors, and more. In the case of the 1995 Liberty Quarter, there are several varieties of errors that have been confirmed by professional graders and certification services, such as PCGS and NGC. But even among these, there are some that are so rare and dramatic that their value has soared in recent years. Let's start with some of the most notable errors that have appeared on this coin and why they matter so much to collectors. One of the most talked about errors found on the 1995 Liberty Quarter is the double die obverse. In a double die error, the die that stamps the design onto the blank planchet has been improperly manufactured in a way that causes elements of the design, such as lettering, numbers, or facial features, to appear duplicated or shadowed. This type of error is especially valued because it occurs at the die creation stage, which means that every coin struck by that defective die will bear the same anomaly. For the 1995 quarter, some examples have shown doubling, particularly around the word Liberty, the date, 1995, and even the profile of Washington's face. The effect is often most visible to the naked eye under proper lighting and magnification, and in extreme cases, the doubling can be dramatic enough to qualify as a major variety, but that's not all. Another error that has raised eyebrows among experts is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank, or planchet, is not properly aligned with the die during striking. Depending on the severity of the misalignment, the result can range from a subtle shift to a highly off-center coin where parts of the design are missing entirely. In numismatics, the more dramatic the off-center strike, the higher the value, especially if the date and mint mark are still visible, which confirms the coin's identity. Off-center 1995 quarters with visible date and mint mark have fetched thousands of dollars at auction. There's also the possibility of planchet errors. These involve mistakes related to the blank coin disc itself before it struck. A clipped planchet, for instance, is a coin that appears to have a crescent-shaped piece missing from its edge. These kinds of errors are visually striking and instantly recognizable. Another fascinating type of planchet error is the wrong planchet strike. That's when a coin is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, like a quarter design stamped onto a nickel or dime-sized planchet. This results in a coin that has the wrong weight, wrong metal content, and incorrect dimensions, all of which can be confirmed through professional grading and certification. These kinds of errors are not only rare but extremely desirable. Another highly valued minting anomaly found on the 1995 D Liberty Quarter is known as a die clash. This occurs when the obverse and reverse dies come into contact with each other without a planchet in between, transferring parts of their designs onto one another. The next coin struck by those dies will exhibit ghost-like images from the opposite side of the coin. A die clash can produce some really eerie and fascinating visuals, for example, seeing part of the eagle's wings appear behind George Washington's head. These coins are favorites among error collectors because they're vivid evidence of what happens when mint machinery malfunctions in very specific ways. Now, while all these error types are interesting on their own, what truly catapults the 1995 D Liberty Quarter into legendary status is the presence of coins that combine multiple errors. A double die coin that's also off-center, or a coin struck on the wrong planchet with visible die clash markings. These hybrid errors are exceptionally rare and can skyrocket a coin's value. When professional grading services confirm these combinations, the coin moves beyond being a simple curiosity and becomes a museum-quality piece that serious collectors are willing to spend big money to own. Let's now talk about the role of grading in determining a coin's market value. For error coins like the 1995 D Liberty Quarter, condition still plays an important role. Grading services use a 70-point scale, where MS-70 represents a perfect, flawless coin with no post-mint imperfections. Most error coins don't score that high because the very nature of an error often means the coin left the press in a less than perfect state. However, the better the overall condition, the more valuable the coin, especially when paired with rare and dramatic mint errors. Coins that are graded MS-65 or higher and feature significant errors often command premium prices at auction and through private sales. This leads us to the $145,000 figure that has made headlines in recent years. That valuation isn't just based on hype, it's based on verified auction sales, provenance, condition, and the dramatic nature of the mint errors. One such coin reportedly included a double die obverse, off-center strike, and a possible planchet anomaly, all verified by a top-tier grading service and preserved in excellent condition. It's the perfect storm of rarity, error severity, and collector interest. Coins like this don't just appear in change jars or vending machines, they're often found by experienced numismatists, coin roll hunters, or those lucky few who decide to investigate an unusual coin rather than spending it. But even if you don't have the $145,000 error specimen, there are still plenty of 1995 D Liberty Quarters with more modest errors that can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The key is awareness. Knowing what to look for, learning how to identify mint errors, and understanding how grading affects value are crucial steps for anyone interested in coin collecting or selling. It's also important to understand that the US Mint has gone to great lengths to improve quality control over the years, which makes error coins increasingly rare. That's one of the reasons why errors from the 1990s, especially dramatic ones like those on the 1995 D Liberty Quarter, are becoming more valuable over time. The longer a coin stays in circulation, the harder it is to find examples in good condition, and the more interest they generate among collectors. The convergence of increasing rarity, historical context, and numismatic education has led to a boom in demand for these coins. Now, let's talk a little about the myths and misinformation out there. Not every 1995 D Quarter is worth a fortune. Just because you see a coin selling on an online marketplace for tens of thousands of dollars doesn't mean it's actually worth that much. There are countless listings that exaggerate claims or misunderstand what constitutes a true mint error. That's why authentication and professional grading are so important. If you think you have a 1995 D Liberty Quarter with an error, the best step you can take is to have it evaluated by a reputable coin grading service. Only then can you know for sure what you have, and how much it might be worth.